Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar today. It's 4 o'clock. It's about time to kick this off. My name is Dan Helms. I'm with New Readers Press. And today's webinar is on all things CASAS. CASAS is committed to the development of superior assessments aligned with learner goals and program goals that are connected to competency-based curriculum and instruction. CASAS assessments are designed for adults at the beginning literacy levels through post-secondary transition as they build key skills and competencies to successfully progress along career pathways, enter job training programs, acquire English language skills, become citizens, earn credentials, and achieve their workforce and educational goals. We have actually a couple of people on the call today from CASAS. Our presenter is going to be Elizabeth Scheib. She is a training and program specialist for CASAS. And following Elizabeth, Karen Welch of New Readers Press, the assistant sales director, will be presenting on some of our CASAS preparation material. And we'll also share with you, before she's finished, our April sales promotion to show you how you can save money on our CASAS prep materials. So with that, Elizabeth, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you so much, Dan. Let me go ahead and share my screen so we can get started today. Thank you all for joining us for All Things CASAS. It's so great to see where everyone is from in the chat. So my name is Elizabeth Scheib. I am a training and program specialist with CASAS. My role often involves helping our CASAS customers transition onto CASAS e-tests or get started remote testing. Today, we're just going to talk a little bit about CASAS overall, some of the NRS approved tests that CASAS has, and then we're going to dig a little bit deeper into the reading goals and math goals series. I'll also touch on CASAS e-tests and remote testing. If you have any questions, please feel free to share them in the chat or the Q&A, and we will respond to them as soon as possible. CASAS was founded as a nonprofit from a grant from the California Department of Ed by a group of adult educators who wanted to create a standardized test that dealt with the life and work experiences of adult learners. So CASAS has been in existence since 1980, and our tests are approved for WIOA reporting by the U.S. Department of Education and the U.S. Department of Labor. CASAS is used in over 40 states in the United States. And CASAS is not just an ESL test. Our math goals and our reading goals series also serve ABE or adult basic education and adult secondary education across the country. The CASAS products that we offer are paper assessments, computer-based assessments, which are known as e-tests. You can see this short picture if you are familiar with e-tests. This is the web browser that our instructors or students would interact with while they are testing. And CASAS also offers our own data accountability software, which is called TOPS Pro Enterprise. You may see that abbreviated as TE. TOPS Pro is a free software that accompanies any purchase of CASAS e-tests. TE is a download that administrators or instructors can use to access student demographic information and test records. Instructors or administrators also have the ability to generate a series of reports based on student test performance through their TE account. And we'll get to look at what some of those reports look like during our presentation today. For the NRS approved assessments for CASAS, we have math goals and reading goals. And then for ESL, we offer the life and work reading and the life and work listening series. The way that the CASAS system works is our first step is placement. If you are a CASAS e-test user, you'll use something called a locator for placement. The locator is a 15-minute exam. And through CASAS e-tests, the locator actually seamlessly places students into the correct level pretest. It's very easy on e-tests. If you're a paper test user, you'll use a test booklet called the appraisal. The appraisal is 30 minutes opposed to 15. And so it's slightly longer, but it serves the same purpose of determining eligibility for students in the program. The next step is pre-testing. So those pre-testing scores are what identify a student's NRS educational functioning level, and they can also help instructors identify the strengths and weaknesses of the students that they're working with. Again, on e-test, the locator and pre-test is in the same testing session. So teachers don't need to create individual testing sessions for each student that they're testing. Once we have the results of those assessments, those pre-test results can really guide our teaching. CASAS offers a number of instructional resources. We will talk a little bit about Quick Search Online, which is a tool to show some of those curriculum resources that instructors can use to help prepare their students to improve whatever their goals are. Next, the last step, or kind of rinse and repeat, is post-testing. So you would need to post-test in the same series, and this will show your measurable skill gains, your learning gains, and whether or not your students move up an NRS EFL level. So in terms of CASAS test timing, these scores are listed for our reading goals and math goals series. For CASAS e-tests, the locator and pre-test will be about 75 minutes. The locator is 15 minutes, and then the pre-test, it does depend upon the level of difficulty that the student receives based on their locator performance. Our level A reading goals form is only 60 minutes, whereas levels B, C, and D are 75 minutes each. This is similar for our math goals series. The locator is 15 minutes. The level AB math is 60 minutes long, and the CD level form is 75 minutes. For paper testing, because they are using the appraisal test, which is about 30 minutes of allotted time for the student, it does take a little bit more. So you see really, not only is CASAS e-test easy to use, but it's incredibly time efficient for the instructor and for the student. We recommend post-testing after 70 to 100 hours of instruction, but if that's not a possibility for your program, then we just recommend post-testing after a minimum of 40 instructional hours. So the foundation of the CASAS system is based on our CASAS competencies, CASAS content standards, as well as task areas. And throughout the PowerPoint presentation, I have embedded some links to just give you some more resources on our website. So competencies are those measurable learning objectives that really relate to the functional life skills context for adult learners. And we really bring that into every test item on our assessments. We also have the basic skills content standards, and we're referring to the academic skill that's being measured. And task area just refers to the format of the test item prompt. Some of the CASAS competency areas, these have developed through our work within the adult education field, getting input from adult learners, adult education instructors throughout the country. And so these are all designed to help adult learners participate fully as members within their community, within their family, and also within the workplace. So now let's take a look a little bit more at our reading goals series. So the CASAS scale scores relate to various NRS EFL levels. And I also have a link for our grade level equivalencies for the reading goals test. To get a 9th grade reading level or above, that would be a score of 239 on the test if you are looking for basic skills deficient or proficient. The reading goals test series was built to address the CASAS competencies, the content standards, which were coming from the CASAS reading standards, as well as the college and career readiness standards for adult education, various reading task areas, and depth of knowledge questions. This is an example of a level D reading sample test item. And again, level D is the most difficult level of the CASAS assessments. So you can see too from the content, we are really focused on making sure that this is a functional life skills approach for adult learners on this content of choosing between leasing or buying a car. Taking a look at the math goals series, we also have the grade level equivalencies listed below. So you can see for a 9th grade level or above in math, that would be a score of 236 and above. Again, the math goals series, similar to reading, was developed to relate to the competencies, the math standards, the CCRS, as well as the NRS EFL level descriptors for math. On the math goals series, we do have an on-screen calculator. The calculator has the ability to be moved around the screen. It performs basic functions. And so that was a difference from our life skills math series. This is an example of our level AB math, a statistics question for students that is asking them to make observations based on their ability to read a graph. This test item is from our level CD, so a little bit more challenging, and it's dealing with measurement, looking at the area of a particular patio or sheet. CASAS has sample test items available in e-test and paper test formats. These are available for free on our website. We encourage instructors to use them to familiarize their students with the test items, help reduce test-taking anxiety, and even if you are remote testing, helping relieve the anxiety of teachers who may be administering a remote test for the first time. Our e-test sampler is a great option for that as well. So I mentioned earlier in our presentation that TOPS Pro Enterprise has the ability to generate a series of reports based on how students perform on their tests. This is an example of a personal score report. You have the ability to generate this as soon as a student completes testing. The test results are immediately available to you in your program through your TOPS Pro Enterprise account. So this shows your NRS level along the left-hand side on this kind of thermometer for the student. It'll tell you what the test level was, what form, the scale score. And if you choose, you can also show a grade level equivalency to be portrayed on the report. We do have that as an option. Some programs find them very helpful to use with their students. Others choose not to. So it's absolutely up to your program. There's a lot of flexibility in what you would like to display on these reports. This is an individual skills profile. This is another very popular report that a lot of our customers use. This is showing the reading and listening content standards by CASAS on the right-hand side. But if you so choose, you could also have the CCRS standards that would appear instead of the CASAS standards for reading goals and math goals. You can see that items are kind of grouped by a competency. This N refers to the number of questions that were on the test. And then the percentage correct is how many of those questions did the student actually answer correctly. So that can be really helpful for a student who's studying on their own or preparing for a GED or HiSET. It can also be great for an instructor or a tutor who wants to make sure that their curriculum is really aligned to student needs. Another great option on these reports is we actually have a GED ready predictor. So this is a probability or tells the likelihood that your student would pass either the GED or the HiSET. So we have worked and conducted studies with both ETS as well as the GED testing service on creating these likelihood predictors. So for a student that is preparing to take one of these tests, this can be really motivating for them, just helping them know that they are ready and just helping encourage your students to do well and accomplish their educational goals. And this is another student competency performance report. If, as an instructor, you've ever worked with a student who gets out of a test and just says, I just want to know what I answered right and what I answered wrong, this is a great option for you. It can go down the list item by item if you choose to display the report that way and show whether or not the student answered the question correctly or not. And not only does it tell you if they answered it correctly, it also gives a description of the competency. So certain tasks that are related to that particular question. The way that this report was designed is so it'll show, percentage correct. As an instructor who has limited time, being able to identify which areas that their students are struggling with can really help them basically enhance their curriculum. So that's one of the resources that we offer in conjunction with our quick search tool. This is a class performance report. So on the basic package of TE or TOPS Pro Enterprise, you can always generate individual student reports. If you go with the enhanced option, one of the biggest differences is you can create a class of students, and then you can generate these reports by class. So as a teacher, instead of looking at the results of 14 individual student reports and compiling those numbers myself, I could generate a class performance report. And we can see this was generated on a basis of 14 total students. And then we can go ahead and look at some of these content, the standard descriptions. So we can see that only 28% of the class answered these questions correctly. And so as an instructor, I can make sure that we talk about that throughout our course or our time together. And here's our quick search tool. Our publisher that is focused is our New Readers Press. So you can definitely look up any New Readers Press materials that you may have. You can look it up by competency or content standard and find other resources that are available to use. So for those of you who are familiar, this is just the difference between our CASAS e-tests and TOPS Pro Enterprise. These are the login pages. So just really quickly, some more extra motivation for going with CASAS e-tests. It is cost effective and it is time efficient. It is way quicker for instructors and students to take the locator and the pre-test on e-test than it would be on paper. This can be a great opportunity for programs to build digital literacy skills with their students and really help prepare them for using any type of technology within the workplace. For e-test too, it's also very easy to implement. We have steps in our going live checklist that can help you set up your account and be prepared to either test e-tests on site or remotely. So just some points about e-tests is you're going to order something called WTUs or web test units. These test units never expire. So if CASAS creates a new ESL test in the next few years and you have WTUs in your account, you would be able to use those WTUs on the new test that's developed. All CASAS assessments are available in eTests. Most of our customers use some type of a hybrid model. They'll use eTests as well as paper tests. It's also compatible on many different devices, laptops, iPads, Chromebooks, tablets, computers. We've got a lot of options. It's also really great to use with students that need accommodations. You can easily enlarge the text. You can take extra time. And for anyone with visual impairment or blindness, it is compatible with screen readers. And these concerns were really taken into consideration as we created our test items, choosing fonts, layouts, and colors. It's easy to get started. We have all of our online trainings available. You just have to create an account. It'll ask for your organization as well as your email address, and then the online training button on the left-hand side. We offer a series of modules for new CASAS eTest users as well as existing users. If you are a long-term user of CASAS and you haven't seen it yet, I'd recommend our module 4, which talks about how to best use those test results and reports with your students and within your program. And finally, we have some different approaches to remote testing. Remote testing is not a one-size-fits-all. So we have different options that are available based on, the skills, the digital literacy skills or the literacy skills of the students that you serve, what types of devices they have available or that your program has available, so that we hope that everyone can really be able to take advantage of remote testing, and that we hope that it's going to be a huge benefit for adult education programs in the years to come. So thank you so much for attending our presentation today. I have my email listed and we'll distribute these throughout the program. I will take a few moments to try to answer any of your questions in the chat or Q&A. But this time I'd like to turn it over to Karen, who can talk a little bit more about the New Readers Press products.
Great, thank you, Elizabeth. Okay, I'm just gonna fire up my screen today. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Friday Eve.
Hang on, Karen, you're not in presentation mode.
Let me switch this really quick.
Well, she's pulling that up, Elizabeth, there was a Q&A question. Just wondering if CASAS is going to produce a computer literacy test.
Oh yeah, that's a great question. We're not working on a computer literacy test, but we would have the option to use a CASAS eTest sampler to take some practice sample questions for your computer students, especially if you're working on building their digital literacy skills.
Okay, Dan, what are you seeing now?
Nothing right now, Karen.
Oh. Okay, hold on. Okay, do you see it now?
Yes, we do. You're good to go. Thank you.
Okay. Great, thank you. Thank you for your patience, everyone. And a big thank you to Elizabeth and CASAS for joining us as well today. We're very excited to be working with our partners. My name is Karen Welch, and I work for New Readers Press as the Assistant Director of Sales. I also cover 5 states in the Southeast. So a few objectives for this section of the presentation. I'll provide you with a deeper understanding of the CASAS goals tests and their focus. I'll introduce the pedagogy and features used as the framework for the design of the CASAS Scoreboost for CASAS series. We'll take a look at the structure and layout of the series, and then finally discuss how you can use this series to frame your instruction and classroom delivery. So for those of you who have switched or considering a switch from TABE 11 and 12 to CASAS goals, we created this quick chart that shows how both compare with the grade equivalency and the NRS levels. And one quick note, if you're looking at this chart, our Scoreboost for CASAS series, we did not create a set of books to cover the CASAS level E, which is really the 11 and 12 level. And this level is considered a level higher than what's required to pass the HSC. So you're not going to see that on our list. Based on the CASAS blueprints, the CASAS reading goals include the testing of 51 standards in 3 key areas. And those include language and vocabulary, reading comprehension skills and strategies, and higher order reading skills and strategies. Let's take a quick look at how the reading goals are focused by level. So in looking at the A level, vocabulary is about 25% of the test, and reading comprehension is 75%. And this equates to about 29 questions that will cover the reading comprehension and 10 that are related to vocabulary and language content. As we move into level B, the emphasis is still on reading comprehension at 60%, and vocabulary makes up a slightly smaller part of this test at 20%. This level also begins to introduce higher order reading skills, which make up 28%. And you'll see that the reading comprehension is about 24 questions in total. Moving on to level C, and as highlighted in red on this chart, both reading comprehension and higher order reading skills take center stage at 40% each, and that equates to about 16 questions apiece. Language and vocabulary make up the other 20% of this section of the level of the test for reading goals. And at the D level, we see an increase in the importance of higher order reading skills at 55%, which equates to about 22 questions, while reading comprehension is a little less emphasized in the previous level at 25%, and language and vocabulary remains steady at about 20%. And just to give you an example of what a higher order reading skill would be, it would be like having a student describe a text structure and feature. For the math goals section of the test, these levels are combined into AB, testing about 24 standards, and levels CD, which are testing for about 23 standards. The areas tested, but on all of the levels include these topics. You're going to see number sense, algebra, geometry, measurement, and then for levels AB, you'll also see data analysis is included. And for level CD, you'll see a data analysis as well as statistics and probability added. So let's take a quick look at how the math levels are focused. For levels AB, 3 areas comprise a majority of the test questions, with an emphasis on base 10, measurement, and data analysis, all at about 9 questions each. And for levels CD, the test is made up of base 10 fractions and ratios, algebra, and geometry, all at about 10 questions each. One key differentiator that Elizabeth mentioned on the CASAS test, which is unlike the TABE, for those of you who have used the TABE in the past, many of the HSC tests, and one that serves to bridge and easily assimilate English language learners in many contexts they see in the real world, are these reading task areas. These are designed to provide English language students with stimuli as a part of the test questions. And this stimuli is also more directly connected with everyday and workplace examples, and includes things like forms, charts, customer billing, graphs, articles, directions, manuals, signs, price tags, advertisements, product labels, measurements, scales, and diagrams. And students are required to read and interpret the information on practice and test questions. Let's take a look at our newest Scoreboost for CASAS series in greater detail. The Scoreboost for CASAS series employs 2 instructional strategies proven to raise student scores: a scaffolded design based around the gradual release of responsibility instructional model, and practice questions that are modeled after those a test taker would find on the CASAS test. The intent behind this dual design is to move students towards independent learning by shifting instruction from modeling to guided practice to independent learning, while also exposing them to questions that reveal the look and feel of the test. Some of the key design features included in the series are standards aligned to the CASAS test as well as the college and career readiness test, targeted instruction focused on key ideas that make up the CASAS test and that aid in level skill gains. And finally, a CASAS-based practice test with between 25 and 35 questions found at the end of each workbook. In addition, we worked with artists and illustrators to make some of the reading task stimuli on both the reading and the math goals tests look authentic to what test takers are going to find on the CASAS goals tests. And on the left-hand side of your screen, you're looking at one from our reading section, and on the right, you're looking at one from our math sections. I want to take a few minutes to describe the structural design behind the Scoreboost lessons. Each lesson is organized around a practical structure for learning. We begin with a specific strategy aligned to a CASAS topic and derived from the blueprints. We'll present this strategy with 2 to 4 modeled examples to demonstrate the skill. The number of examples will differ based on the complexity of the topic. Following this are 1 to 2 guided practice questions where we will walk learners through the skill and how to apply it. This enables the learner to connect with the skill and better understand it. Next, learners will encounter independent practice questions. Here, they'll have the opportunity to work on their own to practice the skill. These are meant to help students practice discrete skills and to help them increase their critical thinking skills. And finally, unit reviews provide a compilation of skills from the multiple strategies presented in the unit in a way that tests skill acquisition of the learner. All workbooks include the use of 4 different prompt features designed to help learners think through an answer, activate critical thinking skills, and to make connections to everyday life and the workplace. These include test tips and think prompts to deepen the learning, and workplace and real world connections, because we know that contextualization of the content is important both for instruction and learning. It also aids understanding and broadens a student's perspective of the skill by showing real-world practical application. Let's take a look at these in greater detail. Test tips offer helpful or test-taking strategies that the learner can employ. They are generally related to taking the CASAS test and appear most frequently at the bottom of a lesson or a practice test page. Think prompts encourage students to connect the skill to the practice and in turn develop confidence. They also serve to make the lesson come alive and activate critical thinking skills. These are found scattered throughout the workbooks and may appear either with guided practice or CASAS practice test questions within a lesson or at the end of a strategy description. Workplace connections generally help to relate the topic being described to something a learner might see or do at work. For instance, using context clues to derive meaning, or the use of fractions and decimals for people who work in construction and manufacturing jobs. Workplace connections appear in strategic areas of the lesson and challenge students to apply the newly learned skill to their own work-based situations. Workplace connections occur most frequently at the end of a strategy description or embedded with independent and CASAS practice test questions. Real-world connections allow students to make connections to practical ideas they may see in their everyday life. For instance, a lesson on identifying the author's purpose may be demonstrated through this prompt by connecting it to pop-up ads a user may see on the internet. This feature prompt may be found at the end of a strategy or in connection with guided or independent practice examples. Again, these are intended to help students understand how the skill applies to a real-life example and provide direct meaning for the learner. Now let's go through how each lesson is laid out and structured to deliver skill, practice, and application for your learners. Using a table of contents as our guide, within each workbook, you'll find targeted units that focus on key skills, strategies that are scaffolded to build as a learner progresses through important CASAS skills, unit reviews that provide opportunities for students to check and assess progress with our Scoreboost action plan, and I'll show you a couple of examples of those in a minute, and a CASAS practice test at the end of each workbook that provides additional test-taking interactions to enable students to gain confidence in practice. We also provide an answer key with clear explanations so students can check their answers. And this is also a great check for instructors. So let's take a look at these in more depth. Each strategy consists of short, targeted micro lessons that cover relevant content. These are 2-page lessons and are delivered in an easy to follow, predictable format, setting the learner up for success with targeted instruction that promotes self-efficacy. Included in these lessons are bold vocabulary terms that are connected to important CASAS standards. Many include Tier 2 and Tier 3 words that will appear on the CASAS test. The guided practice that follows enables the student to immediately interact with and review the skill, and strategically placed think prompts like this one placed near the guided practice activate and facilitate a student's critical thinking skills and helps guide them through the answer. Independent practice is designed to reinforce concepts taught in each lesson. In this section, we break down complex strategies into simple practice items so students can focus on practicing a particular operation or type of question. Additionally, we include practice with the reading stimuli so students can get direct exposure and gain practice and apply their skills. This example deconstructs how to read an order form, an online order form. CASAS practice test questions are found at the end of every strategy in the lesson, and depending on the topic, learners will find approximately 3 to 10 questions that mimic questions found on the test. Depending on the topic, unit reviews are between 2 and 4 pages in length, and their purpose is twofold. They serve to wrap up all strategies found in a unit and to check for student understanding and application. Here's an example of what our Scoreboost action plan looks like. You'll find these at the end of our unit reviews, and students can deploy these to self-check the results and to better plan which skills need remediation. With between 25 and 35 questions, the CASAS practice test found at the end of each workbook provides more than enough questions for students to test their skills and assess their competencies. And like the unit reviews, after taking the CASAS practice test, students can use the Scoreboost action plan to self-assess their progress and to review prescribed skills. Lastly, here's a look at the answer key with a close-up of what the explanation looks like, and this one comes from one of our math workbooks. Each workbook in the Scoreboost for CASAS reading series consists of 2 workbooks at each level. These are designed to target and teach specific skills from the test. So there's 8 total workbooks for reading. The levels are designed to cover the content for each of the reading levels A through D, and students that have tested can be placed into these books either based on their ABE ASE level or their scale score. Here's a list of the titles and what is covered in each of the reading levels. Book 1 is going to cover standard English conventions, language and vocabulary at each level, while our book 2 is going to cover reading comprehension and higher order reading skills. And you'll notice that these are scaffolded similar to the CASAS test as you move up in level. Each workbook in the math series is designed to target and teach specific skills from the math test. The number of workbooks varies depending on the number of skills tested at each level, but there are 12 total math workbooks. For all levels, book 1 will cover number sense. Other books in the levels will vary by topic and content area, but cover top skills at each level. We offer 2 workbooks at math at the A level, 3 workbooks at levels B and D, and 4 workbooks at level C. And as with the reading workbooks, examples and practice used in each book are designed to reflect the same test item types found on the CASAS test, and learners will also see various forms like charts, tables, and work in real life reflected examples. Like the reading workbooks, the math levels are designed to cover the content as noted on the blueprints. And because there are so many math domains taught, we have levels A through D with separate topics taught that reflect what is found in the combined levels. And like the reading workbooks, students can also be placed into these books based on their ABE ASE level or their scale score. Here's a list of the titles we've created for the math workbooks, and as you can see, they reflect the content from the blueprints, and they also increase in complexity as you move up in level. Let's talk now about how you might use Scoreboost to strengthen your instructional practice. Scoreboost for CASAS promotes instructional content and delivery of specific skills and standards. Here's an example from Level B reading. In this case, we are asking students to read 2 articles, compare them, and to make an answer choice based on what they read about what the authors agree on. And this is only a 1 out of 2 questions that we put on here, but due to slide coverage, I can only put 1 question on here. Scoreboost can be used in a number of ways to improve learner engagement and skill development. Because Scoreboost focuses on targeted strategies, students can learn concepts accurately, effectively moving learners from one level of understanding to the next, thereby growing their abilities. And content from Scoreboost is a useful instructional tool as it can help clearly define relevant skills for learners. Because students will encounter various stimuli on the test, students get multiple opportunities in Scoreboost for CASAS to interact with a wide variety of formats. They can be taught various methods about how to read and interpret these reading tasks. This also saves you important instructional time in trying to find the same closely aligned content for practice. The test tips in Scoreboost for CASAS help to show your students the importance of acquiring test-taking skills to improve their testing competency and further academic performance. Studies indicate that those students with test-taking strategies have improved attitudes toward tests, have lower levels of test anxiety, and achieve better results. Lastly, teaching critical skills promotes student interaction and understanding of the content and helps ensure application of the skills being taught. And this can be done using our think prompts. We are currently building some support resources that are not quite up on our website, but we do plan to have these available in the next 15 to 30 days. These are going to include correlations to our Scoreboost for CASAS and to the CASAS alignments. You're also going to see in here, and you may be able to find this now, a CASAS study guide. Currently, the Scoreboost for CASAS books are not included in the CASAS study guide, but they will be shortly. If you currently have some NRP resources now, though, you will find for CASAS some of our other resources like Journey to Success, and some of our math books are also in there. So I'm just going to ask that you check back with us at NRP at www.newreaderspress.com in a couple of days or in a couple of weeks while we're working to prepare these for you. Just to give you a sense of how we are selling these, Scoreboost for CASAS is available in 10 packs by title, or you can purchase these as a variety pack, which will include 1 workbook in the level for both content areas. Pricing on the variety packs varies from $18.60 for a total of 4 workbooks at the A level to $27.90 for 6 workbooks at the C level. If you plan to purchase these by title, each title includes 10 of the same title, and all 10 packs are priced at $46.50 each. And because these workbooks are our featured product of the month of April, they're all 10% off. If you plan to make your purchase using the website, you can put in code APR21, or you can request this code when requesting a quote from your sales rep. And speaking of sales reps, if you need to find your sales rep, you can navigate to our website. At the top of the page, you'll click on the Find a Sales Rep and enter. You can either click on the enter your state in the empty box where you see this first arrow, or you can click on your state and click the contact button next to the state, or there are hot links down here that have each of our email addresses on here, and we'll get those directly. So now we'll take any questions that have not gone answered quite yet. Dan, do we have any questions?
There is one question. I'm not sure if you can answer it, but the question was about pacing guides, and I don't know if you have a good answer for this. I just said that at this time we do not have pacing guides for this new series. That Karen may have more information than I have, but that's what I typed.
Okay. Yeah, we continue to get that a lot about requests for pacing guides. So we will be looking at that and looking to add some sort of pacing guide for instructors, especially if you plan on delivering any of these via a blended learning environment, or if you're going to pass these on to your learner, just so you'll know approximately how much time a learner should spend in each of these lessons. We'll also be coming out with a scope and sequence. The scope and sequence will also have correlations. One last thing I'll mention too, that if you get a quote this month, all quotes are good for 60 days. So you don't necessarily have to make your purchase within the time frame of the special.
Okay, Karen, wait, there's one more. It's just about, again, it says, does CASAS test coincide with activities in the Endeavor series? And
I would suggest that I'm not sure that we have kept the Endeavor series on our CASAS study guide, since that's a series that we have technically ended. I'd suggest that you either switch to our Journey to Success series, where we do have content in there, and we have again discussed creating pacing guides for that series too. The series right now will not be an online version, and we don't have immediate plans in the future to add an online version. But as this series takes root, we will probably talk about adding it. Journey to Success is not online either.
it is not online at this time, although we do have plans, Monica, for ebook availability of the Journey to Success series later this year.
I'm just going to provide everyone with my contact information. If I can direct you to your sales rep, or if you have additional questions, feel free to email me. And if there aren't any more questions, I just want to say thank you for your time and attention today. And we hope that everyone has as great a day as this dog is having right now.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, Karen. And reminder, everyone who's registered will receive an email from me by Monday with a copy of the recording, the PDFs of the slides, a certificate of participation. And so thank you for your interest in CASAS and New Readers Press.